Do you feel the need for speed? Well, you've come to the right place. Hello, pilots, and welcome to Top SD-WAN, where we'll be comparing Juniper's SD-WAN to other solutions out there. Do you want to know who's the best? Well, first, I want to introduce Don Trushinsky, your instructor, call sign Cavalry. Don, what's your role in this dogfight?
I am Don Trushinsky, call sign Cavalry, joining you today as CTO Global Sales from 128 Technology, now at Juniper Networks. We're thrilled to be with you here today as Juniper to share why we are the top gun, the top SD-WAN in the market. I've been piloting networks for many of the world's top networks, networkers like yourselves today. I've been piloting for over 30 years, since Top Gun was even made. I believe we're entering an era of true innovation that networking has not seen in about 20 years. We're going to talk about our tunnel-free SD-WAN solution. If you've lost that love and feeling for Cisco, Hewlett-Packard, VMware, any of these other legacy SD-WAN solutions, I invite you to deploy Juniper today. With our AI-driven enterprise networking, we've got the world's leading solutions that we will tell you about.
Nice, Don. And I'm Tarek Radwan. I'm lead product marketing manager here at Juniper, and my call sign is Duck. And I'll be your IRIO, Don, your radar intercept officer. And with that, this is kind of fun. We want to have a lot of fun with you today. And I'm thinking we just kind of jump in. One of the things that we'll do is we'll try to kind of explain to you why we think our solution, our SD-WAN solution, is the best. And so we're going to go over top 5 reasons why Juniper SD-WAN leaves the rest in the dust. And as we're doing this, again, we're going to try to have a little fun. So we'll insert some Top Gun trivia, hopefully to keep you engaged. And so the first thing is around air superiority. Why is session-based technology from Juniper way better than the alternative? And what is the alternative? Don, maybe you can kind of talk us through that.
Yeah, so, we work with a lot of customers, and one theme is always true. I mean, there are constraints on bandwidth somewhere in the network. And, you look at an LTE, and talk about air superiority, right? LTE, SATCOM, but even broadband, any of the MPLS networks, they are always to some degree bandwidth constrained. And so by having a session-based router and a session-based SD-WAN solution, you can eliminate tunnels, save that bandwidth while still performing the steering and context-aware networking that you need to accomplish your mission. All right, so let's talk about how that works. Now, we've got under the hood in the Juniper SSR, we truly have a session-oriented metadata-based routing mechanism. So when a packet comes in, we look at the very first packet. We don't have that session signature in the fast path. We're going to look that up. We're going to send that off to, we're going to escalate that to the general, and we're going to say, all right, does this session have permission to communicate across the network? If so, we'll allow that per policy. We'll now pop the source and dest address, put that into metadata. No longer are you tunneling every single repetitive signature of a packet across your network. We send the metadata one time and one time only to establish the session across any given link in your network. We then steer traffic through waypoints. That could be a network of waypoints across any network, any transport. We evaluate the topology for quality, security. We choose a vector based on performance. Where does that session need to go right now? It's not where the tunnel has already been. It's where that session needs to go right now across the entire fabric. And we can route that end to end through a network of SSRs to achieve SD-WAN tunnel free. And so that's true innovation in routing that we have not seen in 20 years. And that is clearly why #1 reason why we are the top SD-WAN, top gun in the market.
Nice. And maybe you could talk about how it's a bit different and how it kind of helps you, as the network operators out there to make your life easier.
Well, so, the complexity of deploying a topology, right? So trying to bring up a network of tunnels, choosing a mesh and hubs and spokes. All of those challenges can be very, very simplified when you have a network of peering routers. So we deploy nodes, they learn about each other and create the topology for you. And then as you route sessions, you route them on demand. You can go multiple hops through a network of SSRs and very easily deploy the topology of your choice. Another way that we simplify operations is to put a named data model around the applications. Sure, we understand Office 365 and the Twitters and the Netflix, but we also make it extremely easy to put words around the traffic that your business most cares about, right? You know what is mission critical for your network. Why can't you describe your business policy in terms of what's important to you? And so we take all the access control lists, the IP addressing, and we can use instead a named data model that allows you to see the traffic in the words that you care about. It gives you uniform global service policy, makes your network and your SD-WAN so much easier to operate. You can see exactly what's going on.
And do you have any interesting customer stories to share where this has actually helped them?
Well, absolutely. All of our customers are leveraging the tunnel-free approach, and all of our customers leverage a named data model. I heard a funny story about a competitor where, they said, oh, SD-WAN has become really popular. So what we did was we renamed load balancing in our solution to become SD-WAN. Well, let me tell you, load balancing is not SD-WAN. Session-aware routing and tunnel-free routing is SD-WAN. SD-WAN 3.0.
Nice. I think it's time for a little fun. Let's do our first trivia. And one of the things, and I feel like just putting on these glasses from time to time. So here's a question for all of you, and this is a poll. So what is the name of the base in Top Gun, the military base that's used there? I'll give you guys like, say, 10 seconds to respond. And by the way, these are all bases in California, so that's a hint. It actually happens in California. Okay, let's see what the results look like. You guys mostly got it. That's right, Miramar. So in the movie, you boys are going to Miramar. Excellent. Let's move on to the next point, which is around breakthrough economics. So we talked about sessions. We talked about how they're different and how they allow you to do things that are different. Are there any other interesting things that kind of come out? What are the benefits that happen because of sessions?
Well, Tarek, nobody likes to pay tax. I mean, that's one thing we can all agree upon, right? And I do meet a lot of customers that don't fully appreciate the difference between sort of that dirty little secret of tunnels and the tunnel-free approach that we've taken. The reality is, no matter how you build your tunnel, be it IPsec or VXLAN or GRE, you're going to be putting stacks of headers on each packet. And yeah, you might have some long packets here and there, and the percentage of overhead is down, but all of those need to be acknowledged. The acknowledgements have to be funneled. It really adds up, and it's tax, and it just happens to be about 30% on average. In fact, we put that into our user interface so that we can show you really what your tax that you're paying is. If you're going from client to cloud, all the way from client to cloud, you will have a bandwidth cost associated with this. And when we're talking about breakthrough economics, a big part of that is the bandwidth reduction. The ability to easily steer traffic to a data center when necessary, potentially over your choice of circuit, eliminating backhaul, that can save you cost Obviously, a huge aspect is to be able to leverage all of the bandwidth in the network. So if you're routing sessions instead of tunnels, you can choose on an application by application basis how that lays out in your network according to the performance and SLA that you need. And so the ability to truly leverage, not just, again, two parallel tunnels, but any path in the network for multipath is critical. And then, of course, to be able to control the traffic. And so I don't want to pay the tax of maybe a user going out to a random internet application and competing with my business applications. So the ability to police those sessions, right, being aware of them in the first place, the ability to then assign bandwidth prioritization according to sessions and applications is critical. And then, of course, to scale. Right? Your complexity creates cost, and so the ability to scale the head end very simply, the ability to scale the control plane, essentially the conductor, the management solution to thousands of nodes is critical. It will save you time, it'll save you money, and our competitors just don't fly that way.
Excellent. Any interesting stories, maybe in terms of head-end cost savings at our customers, or something to share there?
Yeah, we had a very large pharmacy that looked at the alternatives in the market. They looked at those, obviously, tunnel-based solutions. They required a very complicated head-end stacked up. They did the math. They looked at the amount of bandwidth they were putting onto their network, and realized it was about 5 terabits per day. Granted, it's 10,000 sites, but 5 terabits per day, that's a huge economic burden that they didn't appreciate, right? And so, again, I call it, kind of the dirty little secret of your competing SD-WAN is that they're stacking tunnels that cost you money. This customer realized it, and they're happily deploying thousands of SSRs.
Excellent. That's great. Let's move on to another fun little poll. And so for this one, let's see what it says. Which military branch does the Top Gun organization belong to in the movie?
Trick question warning. Trick question warning.
Yeah. Oh, and as you guys respond to this poll, one thing I forgot to mention at the top is that we are raffling away a nice pair of Ray-Ban sunglasses to one lucky winner at the end of this webinar. So stay tuned for that, please. And let's see how you guys responded. I see Navy, Air Force is second, Marines and Army. That's interesting. So in fact, the answer is Navy. Yeah, that's right.
So Miramar belonged to the Navy during the making of Top Gun, and the Marines took it over. They stormed the base and took it over in 1996. So that's a trick question.
Excellent. Yeah, that's neat. So in terms of now, let's kind of switch gears and talk about the dogfight we're all experiencing with protecting our our organizations from hackers and from bad actors out there. Can you talk a little bit about the bulletproof security that, because of the session design and SVR and some of the things you talked about, how that actually improves security significantly?
Well, when your SD-WAN solution is built with security in mind from the ground up, you don't have to add it on, bolt it on, tunnel to it, tunnel from it, right? And so, that was a huge part of the thinking at 128 Technology, right now Juniper Networks, in the building of the solution. So the ability to, once you've got the session level intelligence in the router itself, right? So no longer do we have a stateless packet forwarder with security kind of bolted on top. What we have is a router that now understands every session going through it, and you can put into place deny by default access policy. the hop-by-hop authentication aspect is also quite interesting. You want a huge guard out in front of the base, right? And so the ability to now limit your peering and your scope of, or really your surface area that you can access the SD-WAN, ensures security out of the gate, right? And so we do hop-by-hop authentication. When we have that metadata tag in there, we can look at the encrypted metadata, understand, even authenticate that packet, understand whether it's a valid, even initial packet to establish a session. So you've got an extra layer of security at the front door. And then you've got the ability to adaptively encrypt. And again, this is just another way we just blow away the competition in our ability to adaptively encrypt, but tunnel-free and adaptively encrypt. So remember, we've got that metadata signature. That can tell you what the context of the session is, right? What segment it came from, who's the tenant, who's the service it's trying to reach, and should that be encrypted? Should it be encrypted if it's already encrypted? So adaptive encryption helps you with performance. It also helps you with security. And then when you're setting up sessions directionally, so I come into the fabric at the ingress. Think of it almost like an ingress zone at the edge of the fabric. Now I can carry context end to end throughout that fabric. And when I egress, you could almost think of that as an egress zone out at the other end of the fabric. So you've got a session stateful distributed firewall built into the SD-WAN solution from the ground up. If your current SD-WAN or your competitive thought is that you're going to deploy SD-WAN and then pile security on top, why not have it be part of the solution from the ground up? Have that be part of your policy model, your data model. It's just so critical. Just go ahead and search for security issues with SD-WAN, and you'll find companies out there where security was truly an afterthought to their SD-WAN. And that's just another way that we are top gun in this market.
Can you talk a little bit about the route?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, I was going to ask, maybe talk a little bit about route directionality in terms of securing. Like what's special about that? Because I get really excited about this one.
So just because I have access to the cloud doesn't mean my enterprise needs to expose its footprint to the cloud just to have connectivity, right? So if you're setting up your routing, your SD-WAN in terms of vectors, right? We're routing with vectors. Why wasn't routing always sort of done in term vectors? We had to add security as an afterthought. If I can define a policy that is different between me and the cloud, and maybe the cloud and my enterprise, you have true security, and it's a true firewall. When we set up the session, we set up both the forward and reverse direction at the same time. We can convey the context to the next hop, so they can set up the forward and reverse direction at the same time. And so essentially that is a true stateful, distributed stateful firewall. And you got to check yourself. So you look at all these logos here. We spend a lot of time evaluating our own security. You talk about customers that appreciate this. We work with the U.S. Air Force, the U.S. Army. They appreciate our security from the ground up. In fact, they love the fact that they got metadata when they send a packet out to a public network, off net, shall we say. They tag that with metadata and ensure that front door is locked. They're also a great partner of ours. Microsoft's a great partner of ours. In evaluating the security of the solution, and so it's if your vendor is not checking themselves constantly, also being checked by their customer base around security, then I think you may be at risk for a big crash.
Excellent, that's great. Let's move on to our next trivia question. Let me see if I can read these. Which branch of the military is portrayed in Top Gun? I think it was Space Force, right?
I think it was Space Force. I think so. They were up in the sky, right?
That's right.
Were they inverted?
I think at one point they were inverted. And let's look at your responses. Let's see what you guys say. Air Force, that's a pretty big one, 39% of you. And the number one response is Navy. In fact, it is Navy. Navy is the branch of the military that's shown in Top Gun. Excellent. So in terms of now sort of pushing against the barrier, like, we blow past the sound barrier, and, we're able to provide this edge of the envelope type performance. Maybe you can talk a little bit about sort of the results of that, like all this, the capabilities combined with the security that's already built in. How does that help to push the performance of the SD-WAN?
Yeah, so I tell customers, just take a look, just try it out. Put it on the network and see how it performs. And here's a chart of a customer who did just that. They deployed the technology in place of an IPsec tunnel-based solution. I think it had some extra stack tunnels in there as well, like a DMVPN or something like that. And what happens is, if you've ever tried to troubleshoot a tunnel and understand whether it's up or down, the establishment time, if it is down and needs to be reestablished, there's just a lot of legacy negotiation in there. And so what happened in this particular customer's network was that they saw bouncing of tunnels. They saw extra latency due to inefficient routing, and that caused application performance challenges. You may guess which day they deployed the SSR. That would be day 15. And it was interesting because it both influenced not only the availability of the network, not only the uptime from a session and application basis, also lowered the latency, improved the network performance. And so, again, I think it's important to, there's a lot of mechanisms out there in the network, where they claim to improve performance, but then they just don't mention the fact that they're stacking tunnel headers on there. And establishing tunnels sometimes dynamically, and that just takes a lot of work, creates a lot of complexity, and this visually shows you what the end result is.
Yeah, and I hear that, like, the users at the site, they're like, wow, the applications are running great. Everything's running so smoothly now. So, it actually does drive the user experience. But not only that, I feel like also the headache of tunnels and the overhead of tunnels prevent tunnels from providing connection to some interesting sites, right?
Exactly. Inefficient routing, latency. So we're just going to lower latency. It's going to be a better experience. That application download, especially again over, the variety of links we expect to be part of an SD-WAN, it's a real payoff. Another thing, when we're setting up that session, we drop that down into FastPath once that metadata has been conveyed, and our forwarding plane becomes extremely simple. So if you look at, essentially the router will begin to act more like a NAT gateway to and from waypoint addresses, and give all of that bandwidth back to the application. So that can completely eliminate fragmentation if you don't have encryption. And especially even with the adaptive encryption approach, you can still run encrypted traffic, completely eliminate fragmentation, which again can create latency, can just simply cause connectivity issues in the network. And so again, I urge you to just take a look and try it out.
Excellent. Let's move on to our next poll question. Or actually, do you want to talk a little bit about tunnels?
Yeah, for sure. They are a one-lane highway, right? And so I talk a lot about entropy and trying to achieve entropy. If you look back again over 30 years, there's always been sort of this microflow performance in networks. You can divide up packets, got to eventually send them over a circuit and a path. And so whatever that microflow performance is, now your tunnel is going to be subject to it. And the more entropy you have in your SD-WAN, the better it will overall perform, even through the service provider network, through the internet. Right, so you don't want your tunnel bunched with a kind of a noisy neighbor, if you will. And so to relieve yourself of that kind of one-lane highway can lead to application performance improvements. Again, just the congestion that goes along with that. I talked a little bit about the fragmentation. It's a huge headache, I think, for a lot of network operators. So the folks that see this approach, to being truly tunnel free and potentially to be able to use the entire length of the packet. We certainly disguise, if there is any, mismatch in packet size, we can perform packet fragmentation as needed. For example, if you've got encryption overhead, but you really, the goal is to simplify, and tunnels do not achieve that goal. If you look at even setting up a tunnel, maybe I want to move traffic over to LTE or onto the air. Last thing you want to do is wait and provide a user at a checkout counter, or even a Navy pilot some kind of a delay in transferring traffic over a new path, right? And so you're always on. Right? And I just simply send a session with metadata that's been encrypted and opens the front door with the key, then I've got none of that latency and setup. And so, again, when we set up that session end to end, I've even heard customers trying to leverage tunnels, maybe go to a load balancing mode, and the forward packets will go one direction, reverse in another. Again, we're symmetric, so we're always setting up that session symmetrically, and we can guarantee the reverse path. When we move that session to a new path, we can remove the forward and reverse direction at the same time, and that applies even in a multi-hop. Right? And so, you are absolutely eliminating bottlenecks in the network and giving your network more freedom to leverage the available bandwidth. Competing solutions. I mean, if you say the market's got 40 SD-WAN solutions, 39 of them are going to be tunneled, and so we are top gun. We are top SD-WAN in this market because of this.
Excellent. Let's add one more question here. So, what song does Goose play on the piano? This was one of the scenes where they're enjoying their time. Was it You've Lost That Loving Feeling? Was it Tutti Frutti, Great Balls of Fire, or Johnny Be Good?
This is a tough one.
This is
maybe not for the folks with a good memory, but
I don't know about you, Don, but I must have watched Top Gun on VHS like 57 times at least growing up. And the answer, yep.
You guys got it.
You got it. Great Balls of Fire. Yeah.
Goodness gracious. Oh my gosh.
And now, so how do we now let's tackle the last area why we're the best. And that's around the AI ops. How do we bring artificial intelligence to the operations to make life easier? And kind of like the bigger picture now.
Yeah, for folks that have not looked at the Juniper Enterprise solutions these days, we dominate. We dominate not only through tunnel-free SD-WAN, but true AI-driven operations. So this really originated with the Mist solution and Marvis in the Mist cloud. The notion was to say, all right, there's so much data here. We've got Wi-Fi signals, we've got DHCP servers, DNS servers out there that all have to function in harmony. And, there's so many places to look when there's a challenge in the network, right? And the networking folks, we just tend to be, kind of that center of reconnaissance, right, if you will. Hey, what's going on? Because we've got visibility into the applications. We've got visibility into the DNS, the DHCP. We've got visibility into it all. But why does that mean, that we have to, as human beings, always spend time troubleshooting? Why can't we have an AI engine that takes the data from a Wi-Fi edge into an intelligent switching platform, a wired LAN, potentially through additional security tools, and into an SD-WAN edge, and then bring the data together about how all the tools in the toolbox are performing, and then process that through an AI engine. This is 2021, and one of my funny quotes from a customer was, this is the year 2021, and nobody can tell me where my packets are, right? And and to go through that as a manual process can be unfortunately rigorous. So by bringing Marvis and bringing Juniper and Mist AI into your network, into your SD-WAN solution, you can now begin to free yourself, leverage AI to understand which components, potentially which applications, maybe which links, which airwaves are working well and which are not. And that's what it's all about. And that's why we're just kind of blowing away the competition when it comes to network intelligence. We want to be proactive. We want to understand what's happening, potentially tasks that you may need to pay attention to. And there's no reason in the year 2021 that you shouldn't be able to find your traffic. And so we're optimizing it all the way from client to cloud.
Yeah, I like the way you phrase that. The one thing that people are looking for is to save time. And if you can allow the AI to take over some of these rote tasks, it then is able to find that needle in a haystack much faster than you could. And so answering a question like what this slide says, like, why is my Zoom call breaking up? We've all experienced this. This sometimes is like the #1 complaint that we hear. What's wrong with Bob's video call yesterday? Is it the wireless? Is it the wired? Is it something on the application server, right? Where is this problem originating? And being able to correlate across all these areas is like the holy grail. And so we're able to bring that to market. We actually have this available, and so it's pretty impressive. And I don't think anybody has anything on us when it comes to artificial intelligence.
This is true. If the SD-WAN solution truly understands sessions, right, it can look at those sessions and say, hey, am I seeing TCP retransmissions? Which servers am I seeing TCP retransmissions? Does that correlate back to a link in my network? Or does that really correlate back to a service or a server in my network? And so with all the fine-grained visibility you get with a session-aware SD-WAN, you can now very quickly troubleshoot whether it is links, servers, services. Is it taking a long time to set up a TCP connection to a particular server or set of servers? This is critical information. Any of us that have spent a lot of time looking at troubleshooting and packet captures, understand that we can benefit a lot from an AI engine, and that AI engine should reside in the cloud, and it does reside in the Mist cloud. We can benefit a lot from that doing the processing. Again, when you've got kind of a console, your cockpit, is doing a lot of work for you. Think about flight. It's moved from a single stick to tons of AI that helps you fly the aircraft. That's what we've set out to achieve, with Juniper Enterprise solution, and we're truly innovating. I mean, networking has not seen this kind of innovation in years, and so I'm thrilled. I'm super excited to be part of this.
Yeah, and just a quick trivia in terms of the name Marvis. It actually, the founders at Mist, they chose the name Marvis, sort of a playoff of Jarvis from, the AI in the suit that Iron Man wore. So again, the idea is that you have the help there. Marvis is there for you. I think, Don, this was excellent. I see we have tons of questions that have come in. Do you want to spend like a couple of minutes here, maybe picking out a couple of these that we might be able to address?
Yeah, let's do what we can. And, we've got time to cover them. Let's do it. If we have to delay the release of Top Gun 2, then
yeah. Let's see. What's a good question here? Do I need an IP public a public IP for the conductor?
Oh no, yeah. So that's one of the things that we just we want to keep in the solution, right? Is the ability to run that public and private. You can certainly run the conductor completely on a private network with complete installation from the internet. Obviously, I mentioned Air Force and Army. They have strict requirements, and we are not attached to public networks for purposes of orchestration. So that's a key aspect, a key characteristic that we'd like to keep. We obviously want to leverage public cloud for the customers that can do that and make it super easy to deploy, but we can run all private today.
Here's another interesting question, very technical. Does the solution use FEC? FEC?
Yeah, so we have what I call kind of a one-to-one FEC today. And so forward correction being, all right, I want to get to the other end and correct any errors, packet loss that may have occurred. In fact, I just talked to a customer yesterday. They don't necessarily want to have to tune this. They're like, all right, for certain services, maybe it's a voice service or whatever's critical to my business, if I could just duplicate packets across multiple links, I'm good to go. And what I call one-to-one FEC. Obviously, we're doing a lot of work to optimize that. Got the session intelligence and the ability in our software-based solution to optimize and manage that on a per application basis. But we do support what I'll call one-to-one FEC today.
Excellent. A question about hardware. What are sort of the requirements in terms of hardware to run it?
Yeah, so this is another thing that I've really wanted to keep as part of the solution is the flexibility to deploy on your choice of hardware, and that's not easy to do. We spend a ton of time certifying platforms. Call it Certified Plus. We definitely would like to steer you towards the Certified Plus. Those are going to be tested every release, every patch, and you're running on certified hardware. That could even be hardware, as part of the Juniper portfolio. We want to take advantage of that. But when it comes to hardware, we'll give you a choice anywhere from, I've got a little $300 box on my desk right here that's actually wired in, so I can't pull it over. But anywhere from that small unit all the way up to, the largest of servers in which we can run. We've even hit 100 gig speeds because of the efficiency of the solution on some of the high-end hardware. So, we really want to give you the choice and work with you on that.
Sort of a related question, what about the NFX? Is there something interesting happening there?
Yeah, absolutely. So the NFX, think of a unified CPE platform where I want to run a lot of applications, right? So those could be Juniper applications. They could be your own homegrown, could be distribution, could be file management, whatever you'd like to do in the branch office. The NFX is an excellent platform for that. The SSR runs on it, and we'll continue to optimize the way that runs on it. But we made a lot of progress fast, and we support the SSR on Juniper hardware today.
Great. There's actually another question on the integration that we have so far between the SSR and Mist. Can we talk a little bit about the integration?
So this is a little forward-looking. We expect to release this to the masses, later this year. But I've never seen our team kind of rally around a concept. This is one of the things when we looked at combining forces between Mist and all the Juniper, the EX switching and the 128 technology SSR. It was clear that, the Mist AI cloud was a destination for a lot of this session intelligence data, right? So telemetry about the network. And we have tons of telemetry right on the platform today. There's like 800 stats you can go and view. You can do that through a single pane of glass, APIs with high performance. But the Mist AI engine is absolutely the destination for that data. So we've got a bunch of systems feeding it today. So that's how quickly we went down that path. In the great tradition of releasing reliable software, we're going to do a lot of testing and make sure that that's all ready to go and get it in your hands a little bit later this year. If you're interested in taking a look, don't hesitate to reach out, and we'll give you a glimpse.
Excellent. We are getting a lot of questions. Let's see, anything look interesting to you, Don?
We have to. So thoughts on integrating with SRX? I mean, it's a piece of cake. We're all standards based, right? And the SRX does have some cool tools in the toolbox, as I say. I actually am running through both the SSR and the SRX. Talking to you today. Service chained in a very easy to deploy configuration. Obviously, Juniper has had a ton of great technology with Junos, and so these are easy to integrate. If you find that you've got some tools in the SRX toolbox you want to combine with the SSR, that can be done today.
Excellent. Don, I'm thinking we will probably have to follow up with a lot of you folks. I mean, there are a lot of good questions coming in, and we'll definitely follow up directly with you after the event, after this webinar. Any other parting thoughts, Don?
Well, I just really appreciate folks that took the time to join us today. Hopefully we hit on the high points. There are a lot of details here as I scroll through the questions. It's the amount of data bits in the metadata, all these questions, we'd love to jump on a call and drill down in. The metadata size is based on the words that you choose actually for the applications and networks. So maybe 100 bytes per session total, across the entire network. So, what you'll find is, the most optimal, I call it the most efficiently architected SD-WAN solution out there. We've got a ton of customers with, great ideas and deploying us in incredibly interesting ways. So sometimes we say, hey, give us your toughest problem, a networking problem, and we'll help you solve it. We've got the tools in the toolbox, and we want to be there with you flying for the next 10 years using AI ops.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Don. Thank you for your time on this. And we thank all of you for your time, your trust, for spending time with us. We hope you had fun, and we look forward to talking to you again in the near future. Thank you.